and welcome to the Journey of Possibility podcast with myself, Jill Tiney, from BeCollaboration, and my guest today is Mr. Erkan Ali.
I love the way you're so polite. Welcome
my
to the
BBC
show.
voice.
Yes. No, this is a BeInspired special podcast on the JOP, and we're going to talk about BeInspired, the program that promises of discovery of your genius, which is no mean feat. And we're going to kind of go through some of what it's about, how it came about, and why we thought it's so important, and how it aids collaboration. So,
also, put a little bit of context on it. It was only last Saturday or Saturday before. I'm running out.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. That we had our last BeInspired programme, and some of our collaborators were there, quite a few of our collaborators were there, and the energy from that is still flowing, so we thought this was a good opportunity, bearing in mind we have another one coming up on the 22nd of September, to explore and just pull it out. So if you've ever been curious about what is all this BeInspired really
it's all this genius rubbish.
Yeah, what's that all about? Then this might help you a little bit. Relatively short podcast in comparison to the rest. We're going to pull his brains apart and see if there's anything left at the end of it.
Well, that'd take 3 minutes. The rest of it would be padding. Right. So, what if you were looking at BeInspired or this idea of genius? What were the kind of the first questions, or do we talk about a little bit about how it came about?
Would you like me to be in control?
Go on then.
You can't ask yourself questions and answer them at the same time.
I bet I can.
Oh, I'll go then. I'll be honest. That's fine. So I want to just delve back into why did you start it in the first place? What was your
really? There's actually a short but interesting story about this, because what happened was when we first started our collaborative proposition, I got in touch with about 4 or 5 really good friends who are fantastic. They're program directors, they're coaches, they're into meditation, yoga. They're used to public speaking. A really amazing set of people, right? And I said to them, "Hey guys, how about this?" And because the whole point of collaborating was, for me, was creating the conditions for people to collaborate. That's what BeCollaboration is about.
So this is what your example was. It's like, look, I'm collaborating.
I know loads of great people. Yeah. I got in touch with them. I said, why don't we develop a program called BeInspired? And they all thought it was a brilliant idea. I put them all in touch. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in, and I mean, this is probably not a totally accurate story, but it's how I remember it. Nothing happened. Yeah. And I said, you lot are rubbish, basically. I could knock out a program in a month, and I did.
Were they waiting for you to start the ball rolling?
I'm not sure what it was. I think they were just...
Have you ever had the conversation with them since then?
I can't remember.
Or were you polite and you went, don't worry,
No, I promise you I wasn't. It was more like, up yours, I'm doing it myself. And then I just thought, well, yeah, I'll do it.
Because this is the thing we come up against again and again, isn't it? Where people go, where are the collaborations happening? It's like, well, you kind of have to do it.
Yeah,
you have to create it.
Yeah.
And if there isn't anything happening, you have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't wait for other people.
No, well, I think there's... Anyway, so BeInspired wasn't a collaboration. No. Unfortunately.
Well, initially, I think there was a lot of people in the room on the 2-day weekend that you started that were helping and supporting.
Yeah, but that's
wrote it.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is it wasn't a collaboration that 5 people came together and designed a program.
No,
it was my program and people helped.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call that a collaboration because, in all intents and purposes, it wasn't like. I want to be really kind of accurate about this, because if 4 people got together and designed a program together and they all put things in it and it shaped it and you got an outcome that would never have happened that way, like you couldn't have done it that way. I could do another BeInspired, design it myself and deliver it, and still people help me deliver it.
Yeah.
But they didn't collaborate in terms of designing and delivering the program. They supported, and all that's very valuable, by the way. And that's where I think we get quite confused about collaboration. We think it's teamwork or it's cooperation or it's, people say, well, I do collaboration all the time. I say, well, for me, I think collaboration is where you end up with something that could never have happened without those people creating it that way.
I didn't want people to get the illusion that you were all on your own, struggling to...
No, I'm not saying that by any means, but in terms of designing the program and doing the research and putting it together, I did that all on my own. There wasn't anybody...
But what sparked it? Before you went around asking all these amazing people to, would you like to do this program with me? What was your thought process behind it?
I wasn't with me. I wanted them to do it themselves. I wanted them to do it.
But you'd already called it BeInspired at this point.
Yeah, I can't remember where BeInspired came from. Yeah, we did. We called it BeInspired. The original program was called BeInspired, and it was going to be done by 4 or 5 friends of mine. They didn't come to anything, and I said, right, forget that. And then I at that point started to talk about genius. And I was thinking about, you know, when you live in that sense of inspiration, and if you like, the descriptor or the title of the program was Discover Your Genius. And then I really started to engage and look at the things that get... So my premise with the program was that we already start that way. There's loads of evidence to support that, and if you're around young children, there's loads of, you know, you can see it in them, it's kind of flooding out of them. Then something happens to us, you know, and then so I started to look at what got in the way. You know, I wouldn't go, here's your genius, point at it. I was going, look, that's in the way, that's in the way, that's in the way, get them out of the way, get that out of the way, get that out of the way, get that out of the way, and then wow, you can kind of get to what has always been there, is that innate genius.
So I think a lot of people were coming to the programme, from my understanding of the outside looking in, and going, okay, here am I, an imperfect person, and he's going to point to something and go, that's your genius, and I can take that away, and it's a gift, and then I'll go and do that, I'll be that, and where in reality you were taking it the totally other way.
Totally the other way. Totally the other way. And I think that's the illusion about it. I think that's the illusion about so by the way, whether you think of genius, a lot of people think of genius as very left brain weighted. I can't do that when I say left brain now. I go like that. Good. Left brain weighted way, because it's kind of we think of Einstein, we think of scientists, and we think of, you know, very accomplished artists and things like that, or we think of it like that. We think of it very unattainable. We think it's like very very rare few. It's a very very rarefied thing to be a genius, or to be considered one, or even thinking of yourself as one. It's like, well, who are you to think of yourself as a genius? In our culture, we don't pull for genius. We pull for intelligence or intelligent. You know, we pull for something different. And I think that's very weighted in the left brain. So I just started to look at, well, I felt growing up there was a lot of things in the way for me. And then I got to a certain point in my life, I started asking a lot of questions about why is the world like this? You know, why are there wars? Why is there debt? Why is there famine? Why is there disease? Why? And I don't know if anyone out there watching this that knows me, I'm not someone that just goes, why, and then stops. My whole life's been, you know, one of the ways I describe myself, you know that kid that always asks why? That's me in ad infinitum. I just keep asking why. I just look at something, it doesn't make sense to me, I'll keep going till it does. And then I'll keep going again, and then I'll keep going again. And I can't switch that off. I wouldn't want to. It sometimes feels like a curse, but that's what I mean by your genius. It's like, what are the very things you can't turn off?
So before you started the BeInspired programme, had you acknowledged that was potentially your genius? Did you understand that you had a genius within you, and had you kind of gone, oh, that's me, that's who I am?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think if you're not a program deliverer or a program designer, you'd think that the person delivering it has got it worked out. But when you design, well, it's what I find, is when I design a program, or I design a genius slot or a Know and Be Known or some talk, I'm in it as well. Yeah. I have to be going through it myself to experience the principles of that seminar, workshop, program. So when I'm delivering it, I'm not just doing it from memory or from something that I understand. It's something I'm experiencing myself. So in terms of discovering your genius, I really did ask myself, what is my genius and what is genius about? And it's been evolving. You know, the way I thought of it in the early days, it's shifted a little bit. It's kind of evolved. I don't think it's changed as much as it's just got broader and deeper. I guess it's like anything. So
you view your genius as malleable or transitional?
I think I like the way we talked about it in the last program. It's like your genius is kind of out there in the consciousness, and you tap into it, and it's like maybe like this, right? Say the sun sends energy to the earth, and then there's all sorts of expressions of that energy mixed with water and air and all the things, and you've got everything from daffodils, roses, you know, watermelons, and you got all these things expressing that energy, and so the genius, I'd say, would be like the sun, and the expression of it could be many different forms. And as you go through life, you'll express it probably in different ways. But it's having that raw, innate, I don't know whether it's energy. I think it's energy. And it's like that. I think the sun and metaphor is a very good one. You know, and there's this really great story of these two monks walking down the road. And they see a flower coming out the crack of the pavement. I don't know if you've heard the story. And he says, oh, look at that flower. And the other monk says, no, look deeper. And he says, well, it looks, you know, deeper. to the flower. So he's looking at the flower, and he's going, well, I see the petals. I say, yeah, but I could look deeper than that. And what the other monk was trying to get the other younger monk to understand is if you look deeper and deeper, and you go into the soil, you go into the water, you go into, what you're really experiencing is the sun's energy. Because take away the sun, that would never flourish, that would never be an expression of the sun's energy, or the sun's contribution, I suppose, or its influence on our planet. So for me, genius is like that. It's very similar to that. It's genius is a sense, it's a way of being in life, and it's a way of kind of tapping into your higher purpose, your higher self, your higher. Do you know, you hear these stories about people who survive the most horrendous things, and you go, how do they do it? I just don't know, just something took over them, some kind of natural energy or flow, and they survived it, or they got off the mountain, or they got through the. David Calder was telling us a story about Shackleton and what he did, and I'm like, amazing. Where? Yeah. Wow. In fact, I found the audible book.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, you know, like, what? How? I bet you if that was me, I would have died. I would have even been on the expedition in the first place, let alone get everyone home like that. So so I think that's the expression. I mean, it could be it could be massive and big. It could be, it could be a little blade of grass.
I love the example of the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, whose name is Elizabeth something, I can't remember, I need to look it up. And she talks about her first book being a wonderful, blockbuster, amazing, and everyone else was saying like, yes, how's the second one going? Oh, you're under such pressure, it must be tough. And she said it was tough with people saying that all the time, but she said, I showed up every single day, blank page in front of me, waiting for the genius to arrive, so that she could write the second one, which was very successful. And I've always felt that the genius is within, that you can call on for the strength that you need, but genius from a creative perspective is without, and you have to call on it in order to do it. So I've never had, when I write, I've never had the blank page or writer's block. It doesn't exist. You just sit there in the same space, in the same anticipation, and it comes to you. So I think when you are aware of the energy that is genius, whether it's the sun's energy or God's energy or whoever, and you can call on it, it gives you this ultimate strength, this ultimate potential that you never knew you had. And that's what Shackleton, he must have called on that. It's not just inner strength, it would have been whether he was praying to God or what, the universe or whatever. When you've got that there, you've got that potential, you can leap.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting also, it's within the programme, I don't want to be too prescriptive about what it is, because I kind of think there's enough room for people to work it out for themselves.
But this is it, this is my interpretation of what it is, and that's why I like it, because I think in the beginning it was uncover everything and your genius is sitting there for you, and it isn't, because what it is one day is going to be different to what it is another day.
As in what it is. Is the expression a daffodil or a rose or a plum? But that's the thing. I think we in the early days, I wanted to point people at something.
Yes.
So there's your one. Great, got it. You've got something. It's a day course. I mean, even in the first program, it was a 2-dayer. And if you look at it, the first thing I open up with in the BeInspired program is this is highly ambitious. It's a really steep gradient program, and I actually tell people, look, no debating, no arguing, because if we get into that, we're not going to get the job done. So I invite people to just take on the information and do a lot of research after the program. And I give everybody all my references, everything I use within the program. They've got access to. Go work it out.
Just think,
And I think that's a really important part of your genius, is you've got to work it out for yourself.
Yeah. And nobody can tell you can't inherit it.
And I think there's that sorry, I interrupt you, but there's that kind of abdication that I think our education and a lot of the way our culture works is you devolve and abdicate your own power. Like you go to the doctor, I'm going to say the doctor because he's going to make me better. No, I never go to the doctor. Never.
If I do, it's only because I know what's wrong with me, and I know they've got something like this going to work, or I need to go and see a consultant. I need this chopped off or that done. It's I'm
not advocating don't go to the doctor. That's your own personal choice. But what I mean is be the expert in your own health. And by the way, I'm the healthiest, most fittest, wonderful human being on the planet. But I don't go to the doctor, and I very rarely get ill. And I don't take any.
Well, lucky you. Some people sit there. Well, that's all right for him.
Oh, no, what I'm saying is be the expert, be the genius in your life. Yeah.
Be aware, but also basically the end result is an awareness about the potential of genius. But actually, the journey you take people on is probably the bigger part of the of the whole thing, isn't it? Because that understanding that they get, and it's not necessarily listen to her, this is true, you should go and find out about it. It's about, have you thought about, what about this? Why do you think that's happening? And it's the questions that you ask that I think are probably more powerful than the actual idealised, I know what my genius is now.
Yeah.
And although that's a lovely thing to kind of acknowledge and go, oh, maybe I am.
Yeah, it's like going, imagine if people finish the programme, and we do give them a little present to go in with, but it's not a certificate. I'm just going, he's qualified mid-discovery, so it's not that kind of process. So it's a very philosophical programme. And going back to the reason I designed the programme is, I've been around personal development and transformational engagement since the age of 13, around that age. I'm 50 this year, in a couple of months, right? So I've been around it a long time, and I've been in and out of many different programs and seminars and workshops, and I'm look.
You've been around the block. I
have, and what I found in personal development and personal transformation and courses is, this is my experience, and you may have this experience where you go do the program. This is going to be the one. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to make the money I want. I'm going to get the relationship I want. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to find my purpose. And look, most of the programs I've ever been on, they've all been really good. I don't think I've been on a program where I've gone, what a load of rubbish, because I always pull the value, right? But my experience was like this. It's like you got, let's say you got polluted waters, right? And there's been an oil slick, and you come down and you grab that fish out of the water and you shake it about, you blow out its gills, you slap it around a little bit, you wake it up, and it goes, I'm alive, and anything's possible, and you go, yeah, you could do it, yeah, you could do it. And then 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10:30, whenever the program finishes, they go, you can do it, good luck, here you go back into the dirty water, right? And then plop, you go back in the water. Now, some of those programs I've been on, they give you some advice on how to deal with that world when you go back in. So in BeInspired, what I started to think about is the micro experience, our own personal experience, our own past, our specific experiences, like, upbringing, the family we grew up in, what happened to me, what happened to you growing up, and dealing with those things, all really important things, right? And then I knew there was a whole lot of people talking about the big stuff, the
money. Also has an impact.
Nature nurture, right? We could go on, right? So I'd go to these seminars and events, and I'd go on YouTube and read books, and I was reading sociology A-level books at 14 because I wanted to know why things are the way they are, right? And you look at the money system, you look at the education system, we look at our government system, we look at media. And I started like, these are all having an impact on us. This is like the dirty, polluted water. But what I wasn't seeing, it wasn't like, there's a little niche in the market.
No.
It wasn't that. It was like, there's a micro and a macro experience to a human being's life. And we're all in, for me, the macro is like gravity. It's never not there. Things are influencing us all the time that's in the macro. And most of the time we're looking at all the inward micro stuff. We don't really, and we look at the macro and like, well, what am I going to do about media? How am I going to change the monetary system? Really, I can, put the news on, it's always depressing. What are you going so how do we deal with that? So I cited some of those things as the things that got in the way of our genius, and started to look at really what's in the way of the genius. And at the end of the program, what I really wanted people is to have a sense of this asset they have within them that they've been, I'd say, from everything from given up on to being manoeuvred out of.
Yeah.
And where you want to be on that scale is up to you. It depends on your awareness and where you see it. But everything from your own self-sabotage to literally systemic.
So at least they're on the first step of awareness.
Yeah.
And it is just a baby step, really. So you just kind of, hello, knock knock. There's another thing, but it's the dirty water scenario that I love, because on any course you go on, you disappear off and you're back into that world. And day 1, day 2, you're still bright as a button. Day 3, and it goes down. And that's why I like the connection to BeCollaboration, because you've got a space where you can go on a monthly basis where you're meeting up with other people that have also discovered their genius and understand these things, and you can carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
So you can be in that space of love, connection and abundance without having to learn again in a different group of people, and a different group of people, and a different group of people.
And I think that's important for whatever you do. Like, let's say you start getting fit and you go to the gym on your own. Isn't it nice when you've got someone to train with, and then you've got someone to go running with, and then you join a running club and you're part of something where people are committed to that, because they'll pull you along and come Jill, you can do it. Get up. You don't want to get up this morning. Yeah, you're getting up. We're going, and vice versa. Because the next day, you'll be saying to me, okay, come on, let's go. So to me, I think having people around you that are interested in those things and they've gone through that, then there's at least a shared experience that you can comment on. You don't have, I don't think you have to agree or disagree with it, but you can at least acknowledge a shared experience, which makes a difference.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty then. Some of the things that you look at in Be Inspired: media, money, education.
Yeah, I start with the way I start the programme is I kind of share a bit of my own journey and why I start to ask these questions. Because what I want to ignite in people is their own curiosity, that interest and curiosity for them. That's part of the genius. I think the genius does start to ask questions. Because I think we do ask questions and then we kind of told...
Well, we placate ourselves, don't we?
Yes.
So when you're a 9-10-year-old, you know it's wrong that there are wars in the world, but you don't quite work out what's going on. And it's like, well, it's not right, but it's ever such a long way, so I don't have to think about it. And as you become an adult, you know more about it, but you still kind of go, no, it's all right, I've got to feed my family, I've got to go and make some money, I've got to go and do... So you placate yourself that that's somebody else's problem to deal with. And what I like about the Be Inspired programme is you kind of put a lot of it, not so much as the 2-day programme, but in the 1-day programme, you put a lot of it right there. And there's no ignoring it. Now, people might disagree with what you're saying, because some of it is a bit out there. But at least it gives them an opportunity to go, well, if he thinks that and I think that, well, what's true, what's not true, what's real, what's not real. And that's the first step for them to start going
Can I just reframe it slightly? So quite often I'm just sharing information.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing information with a view that people do their own research. So part of we have genius tips now. So part of the one genius tip is do your own research and work it out for yourself.
Yes,
right. So I was thinking about that on my walk up this afternoon, and I was thinking about there's things that you hold true today that you didn't always hold true. And there's things that you used to hold true, whether it's all the way back to childhood, because one of the things we ask people to do is bring a photo of you around the age of 4 or 5 years old. And I'll talk more about that. But the point is there's things you hold true through life that change.
Yeah.
But what happens is I think we hit a certain stage in life where we make certain kind of, almost like the gavel's been dunk. That's the way that is now. And that fits for me. And a lot of these decisions are made... I'm going to say in ignorance, but I don't mean in ignorance, but maybe in with a lack of understanding, which I think is the definition of ignorant. It's like, you may make a decision about yourself and how clever you are based on how you did at school. Boom. Yeah. I didn't do well at my O-levels, boom. Yeah. I failed my degree, boom. And I think those decisions, in terms of the macro and the micro, form a life. Well,
it's a bit like the Einstein quote, isn't it, about a fish and a bicycle?
Yes, exactly. But essentially is Be Inspired is opportunity kind of, and one way I like to explain is, imagine you go into your living room and all the furniture has been moved around. You kind of go, oh well, what's going on, right? The sofa was there, now it's there. They even moved the oven. That's what we're doing for a day. We're kind of going, look, consider these things, consider it this way. And at the end of the programme, you'll get all the research, you get all the links, you get everything, you get the whole presentation, and then you can go and do further research. Now, one thing that I think is really is the enemy of all of this. I was thinking about it today on the way up again. It's amazing how 30-minute walk does for you.
That was a stroll.
Yeah, it was a stroll. We've been highly conditioned into really bite-sized levels of information. So we've been criticised for this podcast being an hour plus. I'm like, an hour plus. Some of Joe Rogan podcasts and some of the things I listen to are 3-4 hours long. I think people they're not doing the thinking. And I've even heard quite intelligent people say to me, oh, well, if it's not 5 minutes, then don't send me it. Or if it's not 18 minutes long, I'm not interested. I want the whole concise thing in 18 minutes and I can make my decision about it. And I think that is really, really dangerous. Because if the default setting is there and we really are doing some research into something, whether it's money, media, education, whatever it is, 18 minutes is an insult to your own intelligence.
Well, it's like anything that's worthwhile is worthwhile doing properly. So even if you're reading a book, all the good classic books are a mission to get through, but they are so worthwhile at the end of it. So anything that's going to have gravitas and pull and something that's going to be not necessarily of value, but something that's going to be a serious tone
of impact, or
that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You have to kind of plough in a little bit to get it going.
Yeah. And I think what we've got, and it's going to sound really condescending, and it probably is.
Easy.
We've become consumers.
Yes.
We consume information.
Everyone would agree with that.
Yeah, we consume information. We can go through a box set on Netflix in 4 hours, 3 hours, and we don't blink an eyelid.
Yeah, you binge for a weekend. Well, I haven't personally, but you can. People binge for a weekend on something.
Yeah,
and
then say to them,
they're in grief.
Let's really do some research on, say, chemtrails, right, or contrails, right? Now, wherever you are as a default is where you are. But the whole point of exploration is to discover new ways of looking at it, and you can't do that in. I tell people now 21 hours minimum. If you're going to take on any subject seriously, 21 hours, money, and 21 hours is nothing. It's 3 days. Look at what you got. People go through schooling to the age of 16. They're there for 15,000 hours of conditioning and right? So we've got to break all that up in a 1-day program. And that's just. I mean, we do education in what, 25 minutes now?
Yeah.
Half hour maybe. I do education. And that's because I'm touching it really lightly but heavy. I'm touching it heavy, but I'm touching it for a short period of time, which opens up maybe the portal, the star portal,
all you're doing
into a world of discovery.
Scratching the surface, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's all you can do in that space of time.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? If the world is used to having bite-sized anything, that's the way in. You give them a bite size, you go, oh, okay, there's something going on, and then you give them a little bit more, and then they want a little bit more, and a little bit more. So at least the day program, they've given up their day to come along and find out more about themselves, but actually they're going to learn about what's going on around them as well, understanding that we're all connected, and that hopefully will and then you give them all the research and the materials so they can go and do the next bit, and then hopefully, if maybe 2 or 3 people from every program then goes, do you know what, I'm going to go and find some more, and then they take it further.
That's on their on their thing. But I think the other thing is with the research or the information. I kind of lost my thread now, but it was kind of like the default and the programming is so powerful.
Yeah.
People are watching BBC and Sky News and CNN and Fox and whatever. All these mainstream. And they've gone through 15, if you've got, age of 16, you've gone through 15,000 hours of telling you how the world works, how to behave, how to think, and all those things.
But
it's not an easy, it's not...
Don't you find that once you kind of cotton on, it is like the red pill, blue pill scenario that you talk about in BeInspired, is once you know some of it, it doesn't have an effect on you anymore.
No.
It doesn't, you can see it straight away.
Well, there's a little clip we use, where we kind of, I think demonstrates it really well. I don't know if I want to let you know what that is.
No.
We'll save that one for the program. And it kind of really demonstrates the power once you kind of see it for what it is. It's like, oh, is that it?
Have you seen there's a program, How I Met Your Mother, when they talk, this is a very simplistic way of looking at it, and they say, have you broken the glass ceiling? And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, didn't you notice that so-and-so always coughs or sneezes or something? And they're like, no, they don't. And as soon as it happens, it's like, oh yeah, and this is shattering of glass where they can't not hear it now.
No.
So
you can't unsee what you've seen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, BeInspired really is an obstacle course. It's a 1-day obstacle course into some fundamental abstractions like money, media, education, government, and some other bits and pieces, and kind of answering the question why are things the way they are as a possible hypothesis for you to go away and do some more further engagement and research for your own. If someone said to me, I went to the BeInspired program and I said it's this and this, and now that they were quoting me like that, I'd be like,
bit of a worry.
What do you think? How do you see it? When you look at it, what do you see? All I've done is I've given you some information to think about.
It's like a Pandora's box.
Because the whole point is that it's your genius will take over and go, oh, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, so that's the aim. So
interestingly, media, money, education, economy, government. When you sat down to write this, what did you leave out?
What from the first program? I left.
Was there stuff that you really wanted to put in there that you just?
There's loads. I mean, because if you think about the 1-day program is probably about 7-8 hours, 9 hours with the breaks. Take the breaks out. You've probably got 7 hours. We do discussion, we do engagement. I show some videos, I show some images, and we get into it. So what do I leave out? Loads. Because I've been at this a long time. So there's a real depth of information. also I wanted to do, not, that was the thing, I'll come back to what I was thinking about. See, going back to the level of conditioning, it's really hard to break people out of that. And it's not for me to break them out. It's not like I do it to them. But there is something we deal with quite early on in the program called cognitive dissonance. And it's a Franz Fanon philosopher, psychologist, talked about, when we're presented with some information that goes contrary to how we see the world, it can be very upsetting. And what we want to do is hold on to the way things make sense to us. Yeah. So cognitive dissonance is a real part of, is knowing that when you're going to get into this kind of information, you're going to be going contrary to what you've been told for a long time.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, or even if it's societal assumptions, or it's conditioning, or manipulation. I think it's a combination of a lot of those things. But somewhere you've got to be responsible for, you bought that, and you've been operating inside of that. So some of the program is quite uncomfortable, and so much so we've had people walk out, and then we've had to coach them and get them back in, and some people walk out and didn't come back. We've had all that. Not recently, the early days, because it is really confronting, dealing with information you're not used to dealing with. So, but then it wouldn't be worthwhile. It wouldn't be worthwhile if it wasn't that challenging.
Well, sometimes, you're not doing it for shock effect, but sometimes a shock is the only way people do come out of their...
Well, I think it's the shock to the current conditioning. Go back to something we said earlier on. I think when I was getting ready for the podcast. This is theory that we can only process our brain processing ability can only process about 10% of what our eyes pull in.
Yeah.
So even now watching this, you're missing 90%. So how sure can anyone be of anything really? So...
And even what you're hearing, we've just... It's this time now, I'm fascinated by the whole concept. I've always, 15 years ago, we found out that Cézanne very clearly said that we never see the same colour twice. And then obviously we had the dress that was it gold and white, or was it purple and...
Please don't ruin my BeInspired program with that stuff.
No. But the latest thing that's come around at the moment in this current 2018 is the Yanni and Laurel, and people hear it differently now. Erkan heard one thing and I heard something else from the same recording, and it just I've kind of acknowledged it, but it just goes to prove that what you think is true isn't true, and everyone hears and sees and feels things and smells things and has a different perception of what it is. So there is no... Well,
I think the Ken Robinson talk on education, changing paradigm of education, is really quite interesting, because he says, in our current standard education forms, there's got to be a right answer. It's at the back. Don't look, don't cheat, and don't collaborate, and don't
copy.
Don't copy, right? So, but we're talking about collaborating. Collaborating is sharing your stuff and taking a bit of theirs and giving them a bit. I think within that paradigm, within that, and remember, the context is there before we are. It's kind of shaping our experiences. There's got to be a right answer. It's got to be red. It's got to be Laurel, not let Yanni. And to me, that's what we spend a lot of time arguing over. Actually, what I think is important is finding your own truth about it, and being open to actually it could be completely different. Sometimes to keep myself mentally agile, I'll explore things that go completely opposite to the way I think things are. So if you go flat Earth alien theories, right, it's a great place to go, because it is bonkers. It is really bonkers, right?
And what if? This is it. You've got the unknown quantity, isn't it?
There's a really good UFO alien researcher by the name of Richard Dolan. So look, Richard Dolan, he does some great talks. It's a bit like this, right? Imagine you're feeding your dog, right? And you go and get the can out of the cupboard, and the dog knows there's food coming. My cat knows. There's the colour of the bag, blah blah. So the dog has an idea of this is food. Food is coming. They get excited and da da da. And our main relationship with animals is that we're going to feed them, and they, And by the way, I'm not an animal psychologist, but the point is they're going to get fed and they get excited and you feed them, but they have no idea where the food came from. They have no idea where the factory was. They have no idea that you had to go to Sainsbury's and you had to earn money, or Tesco's and go and buy it. They don't have any of that. They just eat the food, and I think that's where the BeInspired program kind of gets into breaking people outside the current way they make sense of the world to what's possible, but understanding some of the real big macro stuff. and taking a personal responsibility for your own genius. And I think that's where it really starts to get interesting. You know, and I think, you know, think there are things that come into us from different dimensions. And I don't want to get into that too deeply, but the idea is you see money as, you know, look, I'll give you one really simple example. So I've worked with a lot of accountants as a business coach and consultant. And and I do this with business owners as well. Okay, so I'm here, why? And, you know, everybody wants to make more money, right? Most of them want to make more money, want to do more sales. And that's why people spend money on marketing consultants, because they think that's going to solve their problems. But marketing and sales is like alcohol. The more money you get in, the more it makes you know, it magnifies the problems in your business. Because if you've got these challenges with, I don't know, a £500,000 turnover, getting $1 million ain't going to solve your problems. It's probably going to make what's already inherently an issue in your business a bigger problem, right? And so I've lost track now. Yeah, so money, where the money? So, and you ask people where the money comes. People think there's you know, there's gold in reserves, and there's, you know, IOU thing, you know, there's some little old ladies putting her savings and they lend you the savings. People think that it works like that. Even in this digital world, people still think like that. It's not that they will tell you that's how it is, it's just they don't think of it a different way.
No, exactly. They make the assumption because that's what they were told.
And they think money's real, and it's you know, it's just a made up fiat. It's made up, you know.
Yeah. So photos, you said, remind you.
Yeah. So one of the things we ask people to do is bring a photo of you as a child, and I don't think, I'll be very, very surprised if any adults really spend any time connecting to themselves as their child, as their childhood. So what I ask people to do is, look, let's have a look at that child. You know, everything that lay before you, all the possibilities. You know, before you got broken hearted, before you got bullied in the playground, before your teacher told you you're not good enough, before, you know, before all the things happened, who were you? Who were you? You know, what was possible? How were you as a child? You know, and you know, and I did it for myself. I just thought that boy was gorgeous. He was lovely. And then and I said to him, so I said to people, like, we don't go up to people and go, oh, hello, how are you? You're gorgeous. We don't. We forget how made. But when we see kids, we can't help it. We can't help it. We just kind of get connected to them as children, and suddenly we kind of grow up and go, hello, my name's Kat, I'm really good to meet you, you know, and we never really get to connected. And I think one of the things that people tell us about their experience at BeCollaboration meetings, and they don't quite know why it is that way. I know, because we orchestrate it, right? But in the meetings, there's this level of authenticity and connection where people report that they feel safe to explore. They feel safe to say things they wouldn't say anywhere else. Now, to me, when we're young kids, we say whatever we want to say. And then suddenly we find out, oh, don't say that, you can't talk about them, you know.
Well, you get laughed at.
You get laughed at, and then you start to, instead of blooming, we start to close up. And in the poem, the invitation, do we become shriveled from fear of further pain? Or do we become open by life's betrayals? Or do we become shriveled from fear of further pain? Now, I think a lot of adults are living in fear of further pain. You know, I've been hurt, things have happened, whether it's money, macro, personal, your family, whatever. We've had experiences that have closed us down. And I think within the BeInspired program, we lift the lid on a lot of the macro, and we don't forget there's a human being at the centre of that that's had those experiences. So that reconnection to childhood and that innocence and authenticity is something that we don't spend a huge amount of time, but it's in the background. So I'm drawing that out all the time.
And it gives you that opportunity to view that child and go, well, let's start again.
Yeah. And also when you look up, you go, oh God, Jill's a child. Someone's a child.
I don't know about you, but whenever I see somebody that's a bit pompous or a bit politely, I look at them and think, what did you look like when you were 5?
Yeah, you did look.
And I can see the little boy or the little girl that's kind of trying to act out and be that, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you were the naughty one at school, or I bet you were the cheeky one or the quiet one.
Do you know what I used to do? I used to do to women.
Okay.
I don't do it now. But if I met a new woman in a bar or something, I'd just look at them and I'd go quiet, and they'd look at me, what are you looking at? I go, you've got beautiful eyes. And this is a chat line, guys, girls, but and people couldn't be with it.
Yeah.
You'd look at someone really in the eyes and you really get their attention, you go, you've got beautiful eyes, they just go, you've got beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
People, and if you look at people's eyes, they're amazing.
Of course they are.
They're like these amazing, like, you know, what's it, the Laurel Hardy thing, by touching your eyes I can just get to the sense of, but no, was it the eyes are the windows of the soul, by touching them I can, you know, they do this con and they pickpocket them. Anyway, so see, it's like we don't connect like that.
One of funny enough, you say that. One of my daughter's friends came over to the house, and she was talking to me, and her eyes were so beautiful, just stunning. And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying. I'm just caught in your eyes, and I'm just so taken by your eyes." And she was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then it kind of the friendship then from an 18-year-old to whatever I was at the time. It was totally different because you, as you say, you do connect once you kind of.
I've had people burst out crying saying that to them. You know, like it's like what?
Yeah.
Someone's actually seen me. And so I look. So for me, even if, as kids we're told, children should be seen and not heard, and the whole thing is just very suppressive, I think. And I think it's a one-day program, but it does reconnect us to something that I think is very fundamental for us in our experience of being a human being.
So when people have been through it and they've gone, "Wow, that was amazing," and they do, and this is unquote, you're looking to do a follow-on at some point.
I mean, that's one of the criticisms, feedback we've had.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
What's the next thing?
They love it. They just want more, and it takes a bit to get it done.
I've been designing the program. For now, it's called Resilient. Because I think it's something about opening up possibility, and it's a bit like saying that it opens like a portal. So I think what happens at the end of BeInspired, possibility opens up like this, and then it closes down. People aren't great at keeping it open. I think they come to a BeColl meeting, it opens up a bit more again.
Yeah.
So I think, and then and I imagine if you're not around supporting environment and culture, it's gonna it can go. I don't think it will ever go back to that. It can do, but I think it resets back in. Right? So resilient for me is about how do you keep that possibility open? Because when you do leave, yes, I feel like I've armed them against that. So rather than throwing them back in the water, we're sending them out with, if like a survival kit. But there's a big onus on personal responsibility for your own genius and for your own fulfilment in life. This is a program for people who want to be empowered, not reliant. But I think, like anything, you need further support and further engagement to keep that reliable. So resilient is about how do you turn it around again and again and again, because your business will go bust, you might get divorced, someone will die in your life, someone will lie to you, you'll do something,
the interest rates go up, you can't afford your mortgage, there's all sorts of things that are beyond your control and within your control, and it knocks and it knocks and it knocks again.
There's a lot of things that are beyond your control, but how you react to them is something that I think is really important. So I think resilient is going to be about that.
That's interesting. We look forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ali.
Thank you,
I've had a lovely time. I'm just looking at my notes thinking, have I...
Have you asked all the questions?
More or less, yeah.
So if you've got any questions about the BeInspired program, the whole process of Discover Your Genius, the next program at the moment is scheduled for 22nd of September. All the details will be on the website www.BeCollaboration.com. Go to events and BeInspired tab, and it's all on there. So any questions on that, get in touch and we'll...
Or come along to a meeting and we'll tell you in person.
Yeah, actually, you know what I would say? Come to a BeCollaboration meeting and experience people that are exploring life in their genius.
So the next one is in Essex on the 7th of June.
That's next BeCollaboration meeting.
Yeah, and then the following week on the 15th is Hertford, then the following week is Surrey, and the week after that is London. So depending on where you are, you've got a choice of places to go to.
See you soon.
Hopefully see you there.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.